Hey, but this is Zaccheus with another live word of the day. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. And if you're coming in for the first time, I thank you. If you've been consistently supporting me, I thank you as well. But on today's episode, I entitled it, What Lust Can Do. What lust can do. And some of us men is a battle for us. Yeah, I can say even some of the women too. But when you have a stronghold and you have an addiction, and it starts very subtle. It starts very, very subtle. When it comes to getting hooked to the P word, I'm talking about porn. When you're getting hooked to being having addiction for being an info and just consistently watching scantily clad women and things to draw you in, even some of the music, even some of the things you look at on your social media. All your pics is scantily clad women. Um, all your they know your algorithm, so social media is like a devil's advocate. They shoot all your scantily clad women in front of you, and that's to trap you, and that's to hold you as a stronghold, and as a spirit, a wicked spirit that puts a stronghold and it blocks you. It blocks you from your blessings. It blocks you from progressing, and it holds you back. Because every time you look at a young lady undressed with your eyes, and you have one, and you don't notice it, but it becomes very subtle. You have wandering eyes, and it becomes a terrible addiction. And you think because you're married, it's gonna be all over. Not so. It even becomes an addiction. Watching porn becomes an addiction, even when you're married. And watching scantily clad women and just watching sex. And but even when she's sleeping, you gotta be on. It's gotta be on, and then you're getting aroused and entertained by that. And like your wife is just not enough for you. You have to lust after it. You have to run after it. And we're not exempt. And even the man after God's own heart, King David, fell when he was lusting after Bathsheba. Although Bathsheba was married to a man in King David's army, he just had a lust after Bathsheba, and Bathsheba's already is married. And King David, even as great as King David is, as great as he was a man after God's own heart, he still fell into lust. And it can happen. We're not exempt, we're not perfect. It just can happen very subtle. And he just couldn't keep his eyes off of Bathsheba in the story of King David when he became king. This is during the time when he was king. In 2 Samuel 11, verses 1 to 5. And Uriah, the one that's married to Bathsheba, this was a man that was faithful, one of the faithful ones in King David's army. Oh, he was loyal. He was loyal. It's so sad that King David let his lust for Bathsheba get the best of him. And this man that was faithful in King David's army and loyal to King David. And King David just lusted after his wife. But King David lined them up, put him during the time of battle. And the sad thing about it, King David knew that putting the man in front of the line in the army, you're 99.9% of getting killed or murdered when you're in front of the army, leading the army, because Uriah was murdered and killed because King David set him up for this to happen that way. He put Uriah right in front of the army to go march in the army and causing him his death. And King David, so King David could have his way with Bathsheba. What lust can do? Lust can make you do the most craziest things. Craziest things. You think that King David would have, if he knew, he would have done that. He would have been like, no, I'm not doing that. But when you let lust control all your emotions, control your moves, this can happen when you allow lust to take over your life. When you put a woman on a pedestal and just dumbfounded by her beauty, and all you can think about is sexing her and her beauty, man, you're hooked, you're whipped, and she got you. Because when Uriah was killed, King David knew that he was pushing up on Bathsheba. Bathsheba knew this was wrong, but King David, as being king, had his way with her, had his way, and she cried for a little bit that her husband is dead, got murdered in the army, but King David came with his own sneaky ways, came behind her, caressed her hips, and own sneaky way caressed her hips, held her close, and tried to comfort her during the time of. It was subtle. It didn't happen right away because she was still mourning after her husband Uriah. But King David knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. He knew that Bathsheba was in a vulnerable position because those days men provided. Those days men took care of the household and certain everything. So Bathsheba was in a vulnerable place. As lovely as beautiful she is and faithful to her husband, she still fell into the arms of King David because King David, she looked at King David as a leader, as looked at King David, and she respected King David. And she couldn't believe that she fell into the arms of her king after her husband was murdered murdered during the time of battle. Then and King David got what he wanted. King David got what he wanted. He got Bathsheba. Bathsheba is his woman. And but 2 Samuel 12, the prophet Nathan gave King David a warning. He gave King David a warning. That warning was, your household is going to be cursed. Your household, and King David didn't want to hear it. King David did not. God sent the prophet Nathan to warn King David because of what he'd done, how he lusted after Bathsheba. He will not have a blessed home. His home will be cursed. And of course not. Who wants to hear that your home is going to be cursed? Who wants to hear that your home is going to be cursed and your kid is going to turn against you? Your very own kid that you birthed is going to turn against you. Don't want to hear that. And the prophet was sent by God to tell King David about his lustful ways after Bathsheba. And let me tell you something. When you cheat on your wife and you're lusting after another woman and you're having this lust, heavy sexual desires to be with this woman, and then you fall, and then you cheat behind your wife's back, you pay for it. May not pay for it today, may not pay for it in a while from now, but some way or somehow, you pay for it. You pay for it. You pay for it. Oh, yes, you do. Yes, it's a fact. You pay for it. So King David, as time went on, see, it didn't happen right away. This was maybe about several years later, and King David was comfortable. King David got what he wanted. Bathsheba's his wife, and God was not pleased with King David for getting Bathsheba that way. He was not pleased. And they had a son. They had a son, had a child, conceived a child, and King David, this child, your own child turned against you. You see, it's one thing that your enemies as your enemies, but you have your own child that you birthed and brought into this world turn against you is a different story altogether. Different story altogether. Well, Absalom went against his own father, King David. He wanted to overthrow his own father. Imagine that. And he joined the opposing army against King David's army, the Hebrews. So Absalom betrayed his father and opposed his father and wanted to take over his father's position. And he fought his father, but the thing is, King David loved his son Absalom. But his son Absalom became an enemy of King of his Absalom became an enemy of his father King David. And all King David wanted to do was to love his son, to embrace his son, and this is the curse that the prophet Nathan talked about. His own son turned against King David. And the opposing army, you see, now how did Absalom die? Absalom was in the opposing army, like I said before, and King David's army was defeating the opposing army, which Absalom was in. And they retreated because they were losing the battle. And as Absalom, he had very long flowing hair. Absalom was blessed with long hair. And he decided to escape because he didn't want to get caught by his father's army. But his father warned his his military to just scare him, capture him, but don't hurt him. Just scare my son, capture my son. I want him to learn a lesson, and to not go against your father. Just scare him, hurt him. But for some apparent reason, King David's military, not all the men knew. They heard of him, but not all the men knew his face, Absalom's face. So as Absalom was escaping on a horse, the very long locks that he was blessed with was caught in a tree. And as he was caught in a tree, his hair got dangled in the tree because remember, his hair is very long. And it was caught in a tree. The horse that he was riding when he was trying to escape King David's army right from underneath him and left him his hair. He's hanging from the tree now, and he cannot loose his hair from the tree. Now he's hanging and he's trying to tug his hair from the tree barks, and he can't. But he's in midair. The horse that he was riding rode from beneath him, and now he's dangling, and he cannot. His feet is in the air because the tree bark tangled his hair up, and now he can't escape. Now the army was approaching. King David's army was approaching, and two daggers from one of King David's army threw two daggers to his chest, killing Absalom. Two daggers flew in his chest, two spears from the opposing army, King David's army, threw in his chest, and that killed Absalom. Oh man, that hurt his father. King David was crushed. King David cried and he was depressed and he was hurt because he lost his son Absalom. Oh, that hurt him so bad. Yeah, if you lose your son, that this is what lust can do. It can make you have a miserable life. Lust can destroy your life and make you have a miserable life. Because if you have a wife that is good to you and respects you and loves you and it supports you, and then you're gonna turn around and do that, my friend, your life will not be blessed. And King David's life was not blessed. It's not blessed. Now listen, now may I remind you that King David had a woman, but he cheated and he lusted after Bathsheba. Oh, and he lost his son Absalom. Oh, he cried out, oh Absalom, what have I done? See, it distracts you. When you have lust in your spirit, it distracts you from your work. It could destroy your household. It could destroy your family life. It could dismantle your progress. It could, and it can cloud your vision too as well. It can cloud your decision making. When you have lust and you're always looking at some scantily clad woman, it starts very subtle, just like that. Right on your social media, there's millions of scantily clad women on social media, and you're just hooked. Can't get enough of them. And then you're scrolling through your social media, then you're looking at women, nice hips dancing, and then you're hooked, brothers. And then next thing you know, you get on her page, and then you're looking at more videos that she has, and it starts very subtle like that. Listen, King David fell, and I fall. A lot of us fall, and we get hooked. But the Bible talks about self control, and if we can control our lustful spirit, we don't want to pray no more. We don't want to. Our prayer life becomes less. Our getting into the word of the Bible becomes less, and now we're glued to our social media platforms, glued because we see beautiful women, and it becomes like an addiction now because now you cannot stop looking. Every time you look at a woman, when you're out there and you're out and about, you undress them with your eyes, and it's driving you crazy. You can't stop it on your own. There's the power of God that can stop that because of the spirit that hooks you. It's an addiction, it's a stronghold that hooks you and stops you from and separates you from God. Now, what did the Bible say in Matthew 5:28? But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery in his heart. So when you undress a woman with your eyes just and you're married already, and you not like you don't have a you have a woman, you already committed adultery because you're with somebody, and it's not that your wife can't even satisfy you because you're thinking about this other woman. You're thinking about having sex with this other woman, and it becomes a point where it controls you, and you look at the situation. You can't believe that you're thinking about this. You can't believe that this particular person got you hooked, and your wife don't got you hooked, and it becomes a problem because your flesh, you're no longer a man. You're no longer thinking spiritually. You're no longer you're carnal. Your mind is thinking of the flesh or pleasing the flesh. And if you live for just pleasing the flesh, it will destroy you. You live for just lusting after the flesh and just pleasing your flesh and your desires, your sexual desires, it will destroy you. It will cloud your vision, and you don't make the right decision. Many times you make the wrong decision because the flesh gets in the way, and it controls you, and it consumes you. Now you are going to be talking to the heterosexuals. You are going to be attracted to women. That's a fact. But when you allow that to cloud your vision, allow that to it can cloud your vision. It can, and then when you're lusting, and all you're thinking about is sex, and if you're become a nympho, just meeting women and having sex, it clouds your mood. You don't make right decisions. It clouds your vision. It can give you disease too as well, but it can cloud your vision as well, and you don't think straight, and you bend backwards and go beyond the call of duty because you're thinking about not only thinking about her, about well, maybe I should get to know her better. Maybe I can see what type of person she is beyond what she looks like. Now you're just thinking about sex in her, and it always destroys and clouds your vision. Why? Because That's all you're thinking about. That's all you're thinking about. So even if she mistreats you and treats you bad, you're not gonna see, because all you're thinking about is how she feels against your skin, how you feel against those nice curves and those hips and and that beautiful skin, and that that right there can derail you from your focus and derail you from your progress. And because you're addicted to whatever you're watching on your social media platform, is a number one distraction. It can stop you from your growth, spiritual growth. It can derail you from decision making because you're in lust. And lust can destroy your household. It can destroy your it can destroy your career because you're addicted. You have an addiction and you have a stronghold. And you gotta ask God, only the power of God that can deliver you, because porn is a spirit, is a spirit that can hook you. And then it gets in you lust, and yes, you undress women with your eyes because it's the porn, it's what you're watching. And a lot of scanty clad women on social media get them even on YouTube, and it can just hook you. So you got to be mindful of what you're feeding your mind with, and it can happen very subtle. Then next thing you know, you start staring, start gazing, you start gazing, then you start wondering, like, oh, how I feel about me touching her, how I feel about, yeah, and it can hook you like that, brother. So be careful, be mindful, and keep yourself occupied. Occupy yourself into something that's bigger than yourself. Occupy in getting your goals done. What is building your body up, whether it's your spiritual growth, getting close to the Lord, whether it's reaching the career goal, whether it's making others thinking about other sources of income, get yourself occupied into other things, because uh, you know what the Bible says about being idle. Idle, you're bored and you're idle. So you find yourself idling, and you find yourself scrolling on your social media, and boom, you see a beautiful woman, and next thing you know, you're hooked. It can happen very subtle. So we gotta be careful, gotta be careful, gotta be careful, and ignore those DMs. Sometimes some of those women, when you're just innocently scrolling through your social media platforms, and somebody message you, hey handsome, somebody message you, hey, what you doing tonight, somebody mentioned, can we be friends, I would like to get to know you. It happens to married men. I don't hear my single friends talking about it, but it happens to, and they try to message you, and they keep messaging you. Got to tell them straight up and say, listen, I'm married, and that's it. That's it. And block them. If you have to, do what you got to do, because the devil knows how to hook you. If you're battling with porn, you're battling with looking at scantily clad women all day long, the devil knows how to hook you, and you're trying to stay away, and you're looking at other things on social media, and then you're scrolling, and then you're seeing, and you're fighting. It's a battle. It's a battle. Get into something else. Occupy your mind, occupy and focus on your goals, and occupy yourself with something, because when you're idle, you find yourself getting hooked. So that's my advice. And what did Galatians say? Galatians chapter 5, verses 16. But I say, walk in the spirit, so that you may not gratify the desires of the flesh. Yes, walk in the spirit. Keep praying, keep seeking God, striving to get close to the Lord. And the more and more you pray, the more and more you fight for that prayer closet, the more and more you get on your knees, is the less desires of the flesh you want to please. The less desires. The more and more you get intercede with God and praying more, is the more and more that God will help you practice self-control. So you won't get into the flesh. So you won't be just gratifying the flesh. Because when you gratify the flesh, it gets you in all types of trouble. When you gratify the flesh and just live for pleasures of the world and desires and displeasing the flesh, it leads into to a point of self-destruction. It does, because you find yourself doing things, and you find yourself lusting, and you should not be lusting after these women. Should not, especially if you're married. Even if you're not married, the Bible talks about self-control. If you're not married, Paul said it, then get married. But if you're married, this should be a no-no. You should only be loving your wife, loving the bosom of your wife. And that's a fact. And that's a fact. Now the live word today is coming to 1 John chapter 2, 16. For all that is in the world, the desires of the flesh, the desires of the eyes, and the pride of life is not from the Father, but it is from the world. Yeah, so it's from the world. This pleasing the flesh and getting and just getting hooked to porn, and then you're pushing your significant other to get into threesomes and all type of immoral sexual activity and all these type of things. Listen, it's all lust and it's all desires of the flesh, and it leads to self-destruction, and it clouds your vision, clouds your decision making, and you wind up hurting in the long run because you hurt people and loved ones around you when you make these decisions. Look, King David, man after God's own heart, let his flesh get the best of him, and had a man. He didn't. If you ask King David if he had a good man like Uriah killed in the army, he would say, "No way, I would never do that to Uriah." But he allowed lust to cloud his vision and destroy his household. He allowed lust to take control of his life and destroy this whole world because he lost his son Absalom. But this is Zaccheus with another live word of the day. God bless and be safe out there. Peace and blessings. Until next time.